Hello, welcome to this baconbits video, where we're going to cover vulnerability management with Bacon. Starting in Bacon 5.0, we now have the ability to both detect vulnerabilities as well as fix those vulnerabilities. So on the left hand side here, under my vulnerabilities in preview, you can see I have CVE, Tenable, which yes, we have Tenable integration, we'll cover that, and then Remediator here, which is where we go to actually fix all the issues. So it's going to be a little bit different than our videos. We're going to start with the configuration side. It'll be a little bit important as we go through how everything works here. So I'll go to administration and configuration, and then I'm looking at CVE and Tenable here. So on the CVE side, this is built into Bacon. We're using the NIST database to scan your machines and then detect if we have any kind of vulnerabilities generated through either maybe a lack of OS patching or insecure configurations, or even software that needs to be updated, like third-party stuff like a browser, like Firefox, Chrome, that kind of thing. Now over here, we do have Tenable integration as well. And so this allows us to get that extra 10% of detection mechanisms through their plugin system. Again, they'll be able to find different configurations that need to be corrected, and we can fix those with Bacon, as well as pushing out patches through Bacon and updating software. So you can see here, it's pretty simple. We just set our seek frequency. 1 hour is pretty good for us over here, but you can make it a little bit longer should you need to. Then you'll choose if you're using Tenable Vulnerability Management or the On-Prem Security Center. Then you'll enter your access key, your secret key, enable, and sync. Again, very similar to CVE. You can set your sync time here, and everything else is built into Bacon using the agent. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll go back to vulnerabilities over here, and we'll start with CVE. So using our agent, we have a lot of endpoint data, and then we're able to second check that against NIST database to figure out what's out there that your machines may be vulnerable to. So here I have a CVE record. It shows me the number of endpoints that have that problem, what the software is, the version, a description, severity, if we have a remediation for it, and most importantly, if it's actually been known to be exploited. So the sysexploited here will let us know really another level of severity for those vulnerabilities. So let's go ahead and click on one of these. Pick this one right here. And so what you'll see again are the endpoints that have the problem. If there's a cross with Tenable, we'll see that over here. Some of these don't have those. But most importantly, we have the actual link to data. So right here, if I click on this view link, it's going to bring me to nist.gov. And then here I can see what the actual CVE is, along with all the different data points about it, so I can get working on fixing it. Now again, remember with Bacon, we can fix all these issues for you in a couple simple clicks. And so we'll definitely cover that because it saves you a ton of time. So with this, I'm able to see everything that's been detected in the environment. Now, if I go from like a reporting side, I can go over here to compliance. And here I'm going to see all of my CVEs have been detected, along with just a percentage of how many machines have this resolved versus those that do not. So again, that's going to be very important for that reporting angle, because this is how you know if you're keeping up with them and which ones are more severe and which ones need extra attention in your environment. There's just a lot of visibility you get from this kind of view. So this one is the CVE centric view. So we're looking at this from the perspective of every single CVE record as we've detected, and then checking our environment to see how many endpoints are vulnerable, if they've been fixed or not. You kind of get the idea. Over on the endpoint side, we flip it. So now we're looking at specific endpoints. This will be good for if you have any kind of critical servers, things that touch the internet, things with sensitive data. We always want to cover those first. And again, it shows you just on average how well you are keeping up with this, and then specific data points here for those endpoints. And lastly, history is going to be good for auditing and definitely for the managers out there. So this allows you to see when the CVEs were detected and when they were actually remediated. And again, that's split up by endpoint too. Now keep in mind with Bacon, we can export most tables. So the first two tabs we looked at, we can export, as well as we can go to actions and export here. So you can put this into Excel and do pivot tables and all that kind of good stuff as well. Now over on the Tenable side, so if we time with Tenable, we're now going to be loading in plugin IDs, as you can see here. And so these plugin IDs have, again, very similar information, but now it's using Tenable's detection mechanisms. So I can see my plugin. I can also see the related CVE over here. So these two do link up together. If I click on this, we'll get very similar data to what we saw before. So if I click on view link here, it'll show me similar stuff, but now it's from the Tenable perspective. So it's now tenable.com, looking at this plugin specifically. And I can read the synopsis, description, and solution here like so. Then moving back to Bacon, if we look over here at the compliance side, again, very similar to what we saw before, but now with the plugins as the main focus, we can see what plugins have been detected, and then your percentage of how many are resolved. Again, just like before, we'll see the actual individual endpoints here. if we click on those plugins. Like we saw before, we also have it from an endpoint standpoint. And again, history with all the tables being exportable to Excel. And lastly, we have honestly the best part, so Remediator. This allows us to fix these issues. So using the mechanisms already built into Bacon, we can push out OS patches, but now we're doing it from a standpoint of actually solving security problems, right? So we can select as many of these as we'd like, and then it'll allow us to push those out to those machines. So I selected a couple, I can go to Actions and Install, and that simple. Here I can select my machines and push them out. So you can already see if you've done this patching manually that this saves a ton of time, right? This is something that you can have any kind of technician go through, select the ones that need to be done, and then you can spend your time working on the more complex issues that may be context specific to your environment. Now, outside of patching, we also have the configuration side. So this is a service that we're hosting on our side. This allows us to detect what needs to be fixed and write states that will fix those issues. So for instance, if we're looking to restrict anonymous SID lookups, I can click on this one right here. Now in this state, you can see we're able to restrict anonymous SID lookups, and there's some logic in here to figure out if you're running on a domain controller versus other domain members. So in this case, Microsoft recommended that you set it to a certain value, in this case 1 for DCs, and then 2 for everybody else. So with that, on your side, it's super simple to find this fix, go to Actions, and Apply. This is going to pre-select the machines that already need it in this list, and you just go to Apply again. So with that, it saves you a ton of time on both looking up the solution as well as implementing it on each machine, writing your own state and stuff like that, right? Lastly, you have Package. Now this one, unfortunately, my environment's all patched up. If we had any kind of applications out of date, let's say Firefox or Google Chrome, here we'd be able to use our built-in Manage Package feature to push those out with just a simple, again, Actions and Install. Super simple. Now, lastly, on the Actions tab, this is what I was talking about earlier when I say some fixes require context and maybe some manual work. So here, a lot of these are going to be things that you may want. You know, if we have the ability to access network share on a file server, that's intended. But if it's on a web server or domain controller, maybe it's not intended. Maybe you want to like change which shares are available, right? These are things that we can't necessarily automate as easily, but this is something that you can now go through with context and, more importantly, extra time to figure out on your own. Right, so with Bacon, we're able to patch, change configurations, and update applications very simply and very quickly. As you saw, is about 2 clicks for each. And like we went over when I started this video, we've set the syncing to an hour for both the CVE side and the Tenable side. So as you fix these issues, you can also have your scans through Tenable, or using our updates here, update your data here as well once you fixed it, so you know if you have to keep working or how well your progress is going, that kind of thing. And that's all controlled through here. So with a tie-in of both CVE and configuration through Tenable, you can easily see here how you're able to go through and both detect the issues in the most optimal way possible. So thanks for joining me for our review of the vulnerability management in Bacon. That's all we have for this video, and I'll see you next time.